Welcome to Playing Above the Line, where we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and community activists to get their thoughts and perspectives on leadership. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group, a business consulting and accounting firm focused on preparing clients for the future through innovation and positive growth. Welcome to Playing Above the Line. I'm Alan, your host, and I'm excited about today's episode. We've already been talking with Tyler Brown here off mic just a few minutes, and Tyler is our guest today, and he is one of the owners of Southern Landscape Renovations and the newly launched Southern Container Company. So, Tyler, thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you all today.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking time to come. And so just start out telling us a little bit about Southern Landscape Renovations and what you guys do over there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Southern Landscape Renovations started in the spring of 2010, so we're a little over 11 years in the business now. Myself and Rick Bennett started the company together. Rick runs the landscape division of the company, and I run the maintenance division. And it started out just he and I from the beginning for the first couple of years, every day, just the two of us, until we had enough work to where we could hire on our first employee. And when that happened, the first season, we were able to hire somebody, and then come the winter time, we kind of slowed down and had to let that person go for the winter. Yeah. As that happens through the slow times. And then each year has just continually gotten better and better and able to hire more people to come on board with us. So it's been a really fun ride, just seeing the area change in the last 11 years and just so much growth. So it's a very rewarding process.
What was your background then, and what's kind of the genesis of the business? I mean, had you always wanted to be your own boss and entrepreneur, or have you always had that spirit to you, or what caused you to decide to want to do this?
I have. So actually, I've loved cutting grass since I was a child. One year at Christmas, one of my Christmas gifts was a lawnmower. My parents had it in the living room. Okay. It was a John Deere push mower, and I'll never forget it, and I have just always thoroughly enjoyed doing that. Enjoying that so much, I was able to start this business. Well, actually, I got into lawn care when I was a senior in high school. Okay. Hurricane Ivan had just hit in 2004, and my brother and I partnered up, and through help with my mom and other family members, got the equipment, and off we went. We started our business. And we did it for I was in it for the first time about 3 years. My brother, after the first year or so, went on to another job to make more money because things were slow. We were trying to build a customer base, which is very difficult to do when you're a new company. And so over time that built up, and 2007 came, I decided I wanted to try something else. I'd already been working for myself 3 years, and I'm like, is this what I want to do forever? And so after that, I got out of the lawn care business for about a year and a half. Then the economy crashed. And in 2009, I was without a job. The company I was working with shut down. And a really neat thing, another friend of mine, this wasn't Rick, this was another friend of mine, had lost his job as well. And we had a mutual friend, and he said, if you'll cut my grass for 2 years, I'll give you this trailer and the lawnmower. Just trade it out by cutting the grass, so no money up front. So we said, great, let's do it. And neither of us guys had the money to buy a lawnmower or a trailer because we had lost our jobs and everything else, and we were young. We started off that spring with his mower and trailer, started cutting the grass and calling on other customers as well, trying to build our business. And then came the first winter being back in the business. And the partner I was with at the time needed to make more money. Yeah. So he went on to go do other things, and I stuck with it. And that was the next spring when Rick was finishing college at Mississippi State from his landscape contracting degree. Okay. And I went to visit Rick one weekend, and I said, here's what I have. Are you interested in partnering up? I knew he was already getting back into landscaping, and he said, let's do it. And so that's really how SLR started, was as soon as he finished college there at Mississippi State, we partnered up, and the rest is history. And matter of fact, to this day, I still have that trailer that I got from the guy. The lawnmower didn't make it. It wore out pretty quickly, but I'm so grateful for the mutual friend who helped us to kind of get on our feet, and just hard work and growing it from there.
Everybody in your shoes and that starts a venture has to have at least one person that believes in them, kind of sees the potential and whatnot. So it sounds like your guy with the trailer and the lawnmower was that in your case.
Absolutely. He did believe in us. You're exactly right. Just giving you an opportunity to somebody's got to help you get off your feet. We're forever grateful for that opportunity.
So you started out on the maintenance side, cutting grass, it sounds like, edging, blowing, that kind of thing. And then when Rick came on, you expanded and you offer landscaping services then as well, right? So
that is exactly right. So when we did start, we would do, we may start the day by cutting grass, he and I both. Somebody needs a pallet of sod in the afternoon. And then we didn't have the equipment it was manual. It was a shovel. We would scrape it off, manually load the trailer, go to the landfill, manually unload the trailer. We didn't have a dump trailer. We didn't have a piece of equipment to do the work. We couldn't afford it. So takes you way back to, your roots where you started.
Yeah. So when you started 11 years ago, can you think back and did you have in your mind what you wanted this to turn into then and kind of compare that and contrast that to where you are now? I mean, has it turned out the way that you had envisioned it? I mean, has it been the journey and the path that you thought you would have taken to get where you are?
It definitely has. I mean, really, when I look back and when I was running the route every single day, every yard we did, I was there. So if we messed up, I knew it was messed up because I did or didn't do it versus where we are now. And that was my dream. I just dreamed and envisioned having crews who were able to go out there and perform the work and then just kind of managing it and overseeing it now. And it definitely has. Every aspect's been fulfilled. I mean, we're still continuing to grow. We first started, my goal used to always be bigger, bigger, bigger. I never wanted to stop growing. And it's kind of shifted a little bit in growth is great, but it needs to be good growth. And it needs to be growth that makes sense financially. Just because it looks good and you may have multiple crews out there, it looks shiny on the outside and it looks good and looks like you have everything going on, but you may not be as profitable as you really think. And that's one thing that's been very eye-opening for me in our business because we have had even another crew than we even have now, and it looked good, but we weren't making near the money we needed to be. We have less crews now, better crews, better customer accounts that are more beneficial financially, and it just works better. So that's been an eye-opening learning experience for me. Do I still want to grow? Yes, I definitely do, as long as we can do so with where we need to be.
Right.
Our goal in our business on the maintenance side is we want residual long-term customers. Our customer isn't somebody who's going on vacation for 3 months on a cruise or flying around the world. Our customer is who values us as much in January as they do in July when the grass is growing so quickly. And from the income standpoint, it helps us too because we're there every single week in July versus every 2 weeks in January, but they pay the same amount of money. So even from a budgeting standpoint for the customer, it's beneficial. They know year-round what their expenses are. Yeah. So that definitely helps. It's twofold. Helps on both sides.
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of people get so focused on top-line growth, but you're right. All growth is not good growth necessarily. I mean, to some extent you have to look at the cost of doing that additional business. And so you really have to look at the entire financial picture before you make those decisions. And it sounds like that's something you guys have learned.
Absolutely. And I look back at how I operate business now, how I used to, it's kind of like you cringe a little bit when you look back just because of maybe you haven't had some of the experiences. Yeah. For instance, on our maintenance schedules, I used to just give out a list. There was no time attached to how long they were supposed to be at each customer's account, depending on what the customer requested. And one crew can go take that list and they'll be back by 3:30 in the day. Another crew may come back at 5:45 from the same exact list. So, and that kind of goes back to saying when I had an additional crew,
right,
there was just free for all. And so that's one thing I've really learned to kind of how to tighten that up and wish I had done from the beginning. The same as is only trying to attract customers who did value us year round. Yeah. And some people it doesn't work for, only want to do summertime only. They just need the help because it's too hot. And I understand that. And there's plenty of people out there who that fits them well. Some companies love that. They say, hey, I'm perfectly fine only coming during the summer. But that's just kind of how we've shifted over the years is our focus of we want to be with you all year round.
Yeah. Well, and part of that then is having the appropriate crew size and that kind of thing to be able to do it. We were talking before we started recording about some of the challenges of having to own and lead a business during COVID, but also just in a tight labor market in general, which it has been tight around here for a good while now. So can you kind of talk about how you guys navigated that, the effect it had on your business, and kind of the way that you came out of that?
So that was definitely one of the hardest things ever in our history of SLR that we've had from an employee standpoint was when COVID hit, how scarce it got with the having employees when the federal unemployment started and the government was giving literally above and beyond what an employee would even make with us per week based on 40 or even 50 hours a week. At that point, there was no competition. Yeah. We literally felt like we were competing against the government, and we're going to lose that every time.
Right.
And truthfully, when that happened, I felt like the small businesses in general across the board in all industries were being suffocated by the government because you think the small business drives the economy. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, labor force, it got so bad. And for us, it got down to having to make a very tough decision, one of the hardest decisions we've ever had to make. We were just barely even able to maintain the current customer load we had. And it got to the point on the maintenance side is, do we call customers and say, I'm sorry, we can no longer help you? And we were just about to that point to make the decision. And then it was brought to my attention about, I saw a local business advertising a $500 sign-on bonus. And I thought it was funny at first. I'm like, there's no way we would do that. And then a week later, I changed my mind, and I thought it was brilliant. So we did incorporate that. We offered a $500 sign-on bonus that we have never done before. We started gaining traction. People started coming in. And at that point, it shifted to where it was beneficial for us. So we were giving that to new employees as well as our existing employees that had been with us. And so we were giving them the bonus as well. And so we had to structure it strategically, and it's worked out quite well. And now that the governor has opted out of some of the federal funds for the unemployment from COVID-related times, that has really helped as well. We're starting to see people applying again, people looking for work. And I'm so grateful because everybody can think of somewhere they've seen affected by that. If you see a sign on the door that says labor shortage, you go to restaurants or gas stations, whatever it is, everybody is trying to find people to fill job needs. So we're very grateful that that's turning around, and we're hoping that we finish out 2021 very strong with having enough employees.
Yeah. All right, no doubt. So speaking of your team, what are some things that you're looking for from a team member when you're looking for someone to come alongside you and work at Southern Landscape Renovations?
One of our biggest things we look for when we hire somebody, the biggest thing is be a team player. Be a team player, and then also dependable and coachable. Almost everybody we hire have application, oh yeah, I've cut grass. Well, that may vary from you cut your grandmama's yard when you were 12 and she gave you
right.
a $20 bill, or it could mean you worked for a local competitor for many years and you may currently work for the competitor and you're looking to come over. Well, and another thing we look for is people who want to make a career out of this business. And I understand there's so many people who are just here for the summer. They're coming out of college or they're in high school just looking to make some extra money, and I get that. But we also want people who are just committed and love working outdoors, because I think there's such a big misunderstanding in general of how great this line of work can be. When somebody thinks, oh, you own a lawn care company or you're just the yard guy, but so many people don't understand how fruitful that can be. I mean, really and truly, from an income standpoint, you can really do well. And that's been such another experience that I've learned in this, is how fruitful it can be financially and how well you can do. Mm-hmm. So at that point, for somebody wanting to start a business, is, do you want less stress, not have employee stress, and do it yourself and work as hard as you can? Or do you want to build a team and then manage that team?
Well, let me circle back to something that you just said. So you can work as hard as you want to, and the sky's the limit, but there's got to be some kind of balance there, right? So I would imagine it would be, in your position, it would be tough to turn that switch off sometimes and to try to separate work and life. So has that been a challenge for you to be able to do that, or how do you do that? How do you go from being the on all the time guy that's always worried about the next account and that kind of thing to going to kind of stepping away to take some time for yourself and your family?
So that's a very good point. It's funny you asked me that, because I had a customer one time who literally drove me to the point of getting 2 cell phones. And I say that in the sense because they would contact me at 11 o'clock at night or really early in the morning. And I'm thinking to myself, really? I have a life too. You know, so I literally have 2 cell phones, well, it's 2 numbers on this one phone, and I can turn one of them off completely. So I won't get phone calls, text. I can turn off my emails. So that's kind of how I decompress. I used to have a lot harder time turning it off, because when you own it and co-own the business, it's like another child. Right. It's your baby that you want to nurture, and you want to make sure everything's okay. And the more you grow, that's one thing I had to learn, is you have to delegate responsibility to help you on your team. That goes back to being a team. You have to have and put responsibility on people. And so now I can turn it off pretty good. Yeah. Office is obviously separate from home, and I can go home and just be with the family and everything else. And I'm not saying I may not ride by somewhere on the weekend and see a property we do, and I see something not done and it really bothers you. Yeah. That can happen time to time, but it's gotten a lot better over the years how it used to be. I used to think about it just constantly.
Yeah. So what does a typical day look like for you then when you're not in family mode? Is there a typical day for someone who owns a a lawn care and landscaping business?
There is. So a typical day at work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my day starts off, I'm at the shop every morning, but usually by 7 a.m. with our crews. I personally meet with our crews, everybody, every single morning. We go over our day, what we're doing, what they might need. Do they need anything from me? Is their equipment working properly? So I'm very involved very heavily every single day, and just to keep connected with the guys to know what's going on, because I want them to see me, and know that I'm involved and know that I care, as well as taking care of customer complaints. I handle that. So we now have an office manager, but before, not only was I meeting with everybody every day, I would handle deposits at the bank. I would handle paying the bills. anything that needed to be done, truck repairs, lawnmower repairs, I was handling it all. And it was kind of funny thinking back and how we've grown some, is I would have people, like somebody call to pay a bill, and they'll say, hey, can I call your office and pay the bill with the secretary? And I'm thinking to myself, well, I am the secretary. I wear every single hat, literally, from paying bills, going to the bank, handling a repair, whatever needed to be done. I was it, because I just handle that side of the company too, as far as the finances. And so it's just kind of funny looking back. But so yeah, a typical day, and it always varies. I can't tell you how many days I've had where I have a plan of what I'm going to get done, and one thing might get done off that. I think we all have that happen from time to time. But just you never know what's going to come up. You never know if a guy's going to call you and say, Tyler, a lawnmower's stuck, or we put a lawnmower in a pond. Can you come pull us out? Can you help us? So those are fun phone calls. Or broken windows happen from slinging rocks. And we've replaced a lot of windows over the years, but it's bound to happen.
Yeah. Well, talk about delegating, because I would imagine, I've never built a company from scratch, but I would think it would be kind of difficult to let go of some of those things. Was it hard for you to step back and take more of a managerial type oversight role as opposed to being in the day-to-day weeds of things?
It definitely took a lot of getting used to, and that was hard for me because I care so much about what we do. As our company grew, it almost forced me to give up a little bit of OCD-ness on properties, because when I was running a crew, if it was me and another guy or two guys, however many it was, if I was pulling away from the property we just serviced and I saw a piece of grass sticking up, I would stop the truck, get out, or the other person get out and go pick it or pull it, because that bothered me and how that is, because I cared so much. And I had to relinquish a little bit of that as we grew, because I can't be right now we have 3 maintenance crews. I can't be everywhere at once. So I had to give up a little bit of that, which has been, difficult. But speaking of the delegation, you have to give that responsibility to a crew leader, to a foreman, and make them own that, and that be part of their job title. And their duties is let them be responsible, because sometimes customers, they will take the picture and text you of, hey, your guys missed this, or hey, whatever, and you do have to hold the foreman responsible to make sure the job is done correctly. So that's been a learning experience as the delegation. One thing I've seen how well that works is when everybody's on board, but you have to have like-minded people, and you have to be willing to say we're a team and we're going to get this done together. And that's what I just try to preach to my guys, as well as I'm right there with them, because there's no I in team, right? We're all in this together. The end of the day, the job is to take care of our customer who's entrusted us to do the job, to fit their need, because we're trying to solve a need, and handle a need that they have.
Yeah. Well, and before, again, we started recording, we were having a conversation about employees and the challenges that come with managing a large group of people. And you made the point, that which I thought was good, that you can't handle all employees the same. So just talk a little bit about that and the way that you've come to, I guess, realize that through the years.
You definitely have to handle employees differently. We have some employees who you can go straight to them and say, hey, you went to this property today, this happened, I need you to go take care of it. We need to take care of it quickly. And there's other employees that it has to be, hey, I went by this property today, everything looked good except this one thing. Next time, can you take care of this, or we need to handle it? And I've learned that over the time, because we do have certain people who do need to be handled a little differently, and that's okay. Everybody receives information differently. And I always come at them in a soft tone. I try not to get upset at the guys, because I'm the kind of person, if somebody comes at me upset, it's almost instinctive. Your guard goes up. You're kind of saying, hold on, if it comes up bad, but if you go in a constructive way, everybody receives that a lot better, I feel. So always, just as the saying, never truer, treat people how you want to be treated. That's kind of my motto, and try to how I run with our crews, because I respect all of our guys and want to be respected in return.
Yeah, I got you. So been doing this for a 11 years, you built a successful business by anyone's measure, I think. So what's the most rewarding part of what you get to do, or what do you enjoy most about the business and the position that you've built for yourself?
I think one of the most rewarding things is just looking back and seeing how far we've come, all of the blessings from the good Lord and how far God's brought us in our business. It's amazing to see how far we've come. Looking back to those days that far back and just the changes and how much time has gone by and how much we've grown as a company, it's incredible. It's truly the American dream. Some people have family members who help start them with very deep pocketbooks and just give them everything to get started from day one, and that is perfectly fine. But, we didn't start out that way. We started out working very, very hard, and we started with weeks where we'd work all week and we may make $300, because we do a job. Hey, what's our expense? What's left over? We'll split it and then leave a little bit to start next week. And that's how it was. I mean, it was all over the map and literally said weeks of $200 or $300. It's just a whole different level of appreciation at that point. And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful.
And so then the next obvious question would be, what advice would you have for somebody that's sitting there listening to this thinking, all right, you know what, it might not be a lawn care landscaping business, but it's something that I'm passionate about that I want to do. What advice would you give that person wanting to start whatever their thing is?
I would say chase your dream wholeheartedly. Work hard every day. Working for yourself is not an easy task. You have to have the drive. And that's one thing I've had a lot of conversation with other people is I think you have to get up every day telling yourself it's going to work. You're going to be successful. There's no room for laziness. Mm-hmm. You have to just have the drive every single day. And I've had the chance to mentor a couple of people, and that is a high, high honor to me, getting to do that. There's a local young guy who started a company within the last year and a half, and we've gotten together a few times, and he just asked me a ton of questions and even got to have breakfast with another guy about 2 weeks ago who's starting a lawn care company, and just asking my opinion, how I would do things, and said that is such a high honor to me that somebody values us enough to look at us and just ask questions, because I look at competition as a great thing. Mm-hmm. Because in reality, Southern Landscape Renovations can't handle all the landscaping or lawn maintenance within even the zip code of Fairhope.
Yeah.
I don't get offended by competition. I love talking to competition because there's going to come a time a job may be too big or too small or we just can't get to, and you can call them and say, hey, this has come up. Would you be interested? Can we help you? And vice versa. But getting to mentor and give advice is something I truly love, and I would love to do that more. So if anybody is thinking about getting in the lawn care business or has questions, I would absolutely love to meet them and give them any advice I can, because we're in this together. Yes. Rick and I had people reach out to us and help us when we were growing, down to even giving us a hand, or if they had a tool we could borrow, went out of their way to help us, and that sticks with you. Yeah. When people go out of your way and you're in such infancy stages of your business, I mean, it's just small things like that that stick with you forever. And as the saying is, pay it forward. Right. And that's what I would absolutely love to do, and we'll try to do it forever.
Well, that's great. And actually, George Diaz last week on the podcast mentioned it. There's two different mindsets, scarcity mindset or abundance mindset. It sounds like, I mean, you subscribe to the abundance mindset theory, which is there's enough for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so you want to embrace that and help people that may, like you say, be competitors, but you realize that there's more than enough to go around. So that abundance mindset, I think, is very, very important in any entrepreneurial type venture, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's so much work here. And you see people on social media platforms all the time. I'm looking for somebody to service my yard. Can anybody recommend? And you'll look and there'll be 42 comments. And I always look and scroll to see. Sometimes our name's on there, sometimes it's not, and that's okay. But it's interesting to see. I'm like, oh, I've never heard of them before. But there's that much work out there and that many people coming here. We were discussing before the growth. Yeah. It's unreal, the amount of houses in here that are going in Baldwin County in general. So I don't think the landscaping is not going anywhere anytime soon, and that's something that we just saw through COVID, how much it even ramped up, going even from just can't even handle all the workload from people are at home and realize their yards haven't been taken care of in a long time, and all of a sudden they want to spend some money. So we're grateful for that, and we hope people continue doing that, but it's a fun ride every day.
That's great. Well, talk real quick about Southern Container Company. This is a new venture that you started not too long ago. So what is that, and kind of what was the genesis of that? Obviously, it was to fill a need maybe that you had internally, but then you guys are offering those services to others as well.
It is, yes. So we did start a sister company, Southern Container Company, and it is a roll-off container company. So we handle needs from vegetative debris to construction and demolition debris to roofing, anything that you can dispose of within certain ranges, we're able to help with. We have a big need with Southern Landscape. We do a lot of landscape renovation, removing the old, well, a lot of times it's bulk material. We're able to service our own needs, as well as we have vegetative debris coming in every day from our maintenance routes. But we are also calling on contractors and homeowners if they have a need to dispose of any of those materials to help. So we're in the new player in this business on this side, because there's quite a few other established companies that do the same thing. So we're the new guy on the block asking for an opportunity. And that's one thing is so interesting in this business, as I was mentioning before the podcast started, was we go from being so busy with Southern Landscape to with the container company asking for an opportunity, just saying, hey, we're the new guy, can we have a shot? And so it has been a lot of fun, but we're having a great time. We actually started operations, having the truck and containers out. We started in March of this year, and it's been fantastic ever since. So yes, that has been a great fit, and we're excited about that.
Okay, good. Well, and we'll link that information and then also Southern Landscape Renovations in the show notes so folks can go check that out there. Before I let you go, my last question is my karaoke question. Carrie loves this one. So if you go to karaoke on Friday night, what is your go-to karaoke song that you're singing?
One of the ones is probably going to be Easy by the Commodores.
Okay, we hadn't had that mentioned before. That's good. Now, do you have a duet?
The duet would definitely be David Allen Coe, You Don't Even Call Me By My Name. Fantastic duet song.
Classic.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, great. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for coming. This has been insightful, very entertaining, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me today.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. It definitely helps us in the ratings, and it also makes it easier for other folks to find the podcast. And as always, a big thank you to producer and editor Carrie Wolf. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group. If you want to know more about who we are and what we do, you can visit our website at avisogroup.com. That's AVIZO group.com. You can also check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.